I came to Sunday dinner, but my son said, "Sorry, but this is for family members only. You're not invited. Leave." I silently left and canceled all payments. The next day, I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. For 32 years, I had been a widow. My husband Robert died when our son Daniel was only 15, leaving me to raise him alone while working double shifts as a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. I sacrificed everything: vacations, new clothes, sometimes even proper meals, to give Daniel the education and opportunities I never had. When he graduated from business school and married Jennifer, a corporate lawyer, I felt like all those years of struggle had finally paid off. After I retired at 67, I started helping them financially. It began small, a few $100s here and there when they were saving for their first house. Then it became regular, monthly payments of $1,500 to help with their mortgage. Another $1,000 for the new car Jennifer insisted they needed, $5,000 for the renovation of their kitchen, $10,000 for Daniel's failed startup venture that Jennifer convinced him to try. I never said no. They were my only family, and I wanted to be useful, to be needed. But something shifted about 6 months ago. Jennifer started making subtle comments during our Sunday dinners at their beautiful suburban home, the home my money had helped furnish. "Daniel's been so stressed lately," she'd say, glancing at him meaningfully. "Supporting everyone is such a burden." I ignored it, thinking she was just venting about work pressure. Then the phone calls became less frequent. Daniel stopped dropping by my modest apartment in the city. When I called, Jennifer always answered, her voice clipped and efficient. "He's busy, Margaret. I'll tell him you called." But he never called back. The warmth I once felt in their home grew cold, replaced by a politeness that felt like a wall between us. Last Sunday, I drove to their house as usual, carrying the apple pie I'd baked that morning, Daniel's favorite since childhood. I had my key, the one they'd given me 2 years ago for emergencies. But I rang the doorbell instead, not wanting to intrude. Through the frosted glass, I could see movement, hear laughter and conversation. A family dinner, just like always. Daniel opened the door and his face changed instantly. The smile vanished, replaced by something I'd never seen before. Irritation mixed with something darker. Behind him, I could see Jennifer at the dining table with people I didn't recognize. The good china was out, the chandelier I'd helped pay for casting warm light over an abundant feast. "Mom," Daniel said, not moving from the doorway, "what are you doing here?" The question stunned me. "It's Sunday," I managed. "Our dinner, I brought pie." Jennifer appeared behind him, her hand possessively on his shoulder. Her expression was cold, calculated. "Daniel, didn't you tell her?" "Tell me what?" My hands trembled, nearly dropping the pie dish. Daniel wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mom, these dinners, they're for family only now. Jennifer's parents are here, and we're trying to keep it intimate. You understand, right? Family only." I stared at my son, the boy I'd raised alone, the man I'd supported through everything, and felt something crack inside my chest. "Daniel, I'm your mother. I am your family." Jennifer's voice cut through the cold evening air, sharp and final. "Margaret, we've been meaning to talk to you about boundaries. You're not invited tonight. It would be better if you left." I stood there on their doorstep, the November wind cutting through my coat, looking at my son's face. He didn't defend me, didn't contradict her. He just stood there, this stranger wearing my son's face, and nodded. "I'm sorry, Mom," he whispered. "But yes, please go." I don't remember walking back to my car. I don't remember the drive home. I only remember sitting in my dark apartment, still holding that damned pie, and feeling 32 years of love and sacrifice crumble into dust. How had I raised someone who could do this? How had I become so disposable? I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table until dawn, staring at the pie I'd finally set down, watching it grow cold and pointless. The humiliation burned through me in waves. Not invited. Family only. My own son. But as the sun rose over the city, something changed. The hurt began to crystallize into something harder, clearer. I opened my laptop and started going through my bank statements, something I probably should have done years ago. What I found made my hands shake for entirely different reasons. $1,500 monthly for the mortgage for 62 months. That was $93,000. The car payment, $45,000. Kitchen renovation, $12,000. Daniel's startup, $15,000. The furniture, the emergency loans that were never repaid, Jennifer's birthday gifts, the vacation I'd funded last year. It went on and on. By noon, I had the complete picture. Over the past 5 years, I had given my son and his wife $237,000, nearly $250,000. My retirement savings cut in half. My emergency fund depleted. The small inheritance from my mother gone entirely. And for what? To be told I wasn't family? To be dismissed at the doorstep like some unwanted solicitor? I made myself eat something, though the food tasted like cardboard. My hands were steadier now. The initial shock was fading, replaced by a cold, clear anger that I'd never felt before. I'd spent my entire life being accommodating, being understanding, being the good mother who never made waves. Where had that gotten me? My phone rang 3 times that afternoon. Daniel. I stared at his name on the screen and didn't answer. Let him wonder. Let him worry. I wasn't ready to hear whatever excuse or justification he'd prepared. By evening, I'd made my decision. I pulled up my bank's website and began canceling automatic payments. The mortgage payment, canceled. The car payment, canceled. Every single recurring transfer to Daniel's account, canceled, one by one. With each click, I felt lighter, as if I was shedding weights I'd carried for far too long. But that wasn't enough. That was just stopping the bleeding. I needed documentation, proof of everything. I spent hours creating a spreadsheet, logging every transaction, every check, every wire transfer. Dates, amounts, purposes. Some I remembered clearly, the $5,000 for their wedding anniversary trip. Others I'd nearly forgotten. The $2,000 for Jennifer's professional certification course. Around midnight, I called my friend Susan, another retired nurse who'd gone through a difficult situation with her own daughter. She answered on the second ring, her voice concerned. Margaret, it's late. What's wrong? I told her everything. The dinner, the dismissal, the money. Susan listened without interrupting, and when I finished, her silence spoke volumes. $237,000, she finally said. Margaret, that's elder financial abuse. The words hit me like ice water. It's not abuse. I gave it willingly. Did you? Or did they manipulate you into it? Those comments Jennifer made, supporting everyone is such a burden. That's guilt-tripping. Classic manipulation. Susan's voice was firm. You need to talk to a lawyer. I don't want to sue my son, I said automatically. But even as the words left my mouth, I wondered why not. What loyalty did I owe someone who'd thrown me away? Then talk to a financial advisor at least. See what your options are. And Margaret? Susan paused. Stop giving them money. Immediately. I already have, I said, and hearing myself say it out loud made it real. We talked for another hour. Susan gave me the name of her lawyer, her financial advisor, even a therapist who specialized in family estrangement. I wrote everything down, my hand cramping but steady. When we finally hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, a sense of purpose. Daniel called again the next morning, and the morning after that. I didn't answer. Let him taste a fraction of the silence I'd endured when he stopped calling me back. Let Jennifer wonder why their bank account wasn't automatically refilling anymore. I had appointments to make, plans to execute, and for the first time since Robert died, I was going to put myself first. My son had taught me an important lesson at that doorstep. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect, love, and loyalty. And if he could withdraw those things from me, then I could certainly withdraw my financial support from him. Fair was fair. Monday morning, I sat in the office of Patricia Chen, the attorney Susan had recommended. Her office was in a high-rise downtown, all glass and steel and competence. Patricia herself was probably in her 50s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. $237,000 over 5 years, she said, reviewing my spreadsheet. And you have documentation for all of this? Bank statements, canceled checks, wire transfer confirmations, I said, sliding the folder across her desk. I kept everything. Patricia spent 20 minutes reviewing my documents in silence. Finally, she looked up. Margaret, I need to ask you something important. Did you sign anything? Any loan agreements? Any documents stating these were gifts? Nothing. It was just helping family. That works in your favor? Patricia leaned back in her chair. Here's the situation. Legally, without written agreements stating these were gifts, there's an argument that these were loans, implied loans. You could potentially sue for repayment. My stomach tightened. I don't know if I want to go that far. I understand. But you should know your options. Patricia pulled out a legal pad. There's also the question of undue influence. You mentioned Jennifer's comments, the guilt tripping, the social isolation, cutting off your weekly dinners. These are red flags for financial exploitation. What would you recommend? First, I'm going to draft a formal demand letter. It will outline the money you've provided and request a repayment plan. It's official, it's documented, and it puts them on notice that you're not backing down. Patricia's expression softened slightly. Sometimes that's enough to wake people up. I signed the retainer agreement and wrote a check, watching my already depleted savings drop further. But it was worth it. For the first time since that horrible Sunday, I felt like I was taking control. The letter went out Wednesday via certified mail, requiring signature. I imagined Jennifer's face when she opened it, saw the official letterhead, the itemized list of every dollar. Good. Let her feel a fraction of the shock I'd felt. Thursday morning, my phone exploded. 7 missed calls from Daniel before 9 a.m., 4 voicemails, each more desperate than the last. Mom, we need to talk. Mom, what's going on? Mom, Jennifer showed me some crazy letter from a lawyer. This is insane. I was having coffee with Susan when he called again. She watched as I declined the call, then raised her cup in a small toast. Proud of you. They're panicking, I said. Good. They should be. That afternoon, Jennifer called from Daniel's phone, a tactic I recognized immediately. She'd done this before when she wanted something, using Daniel's contact so I'd answer. I let it go to voicemail. Margaret, this is Jennifer. Her voice was controlled, but I could hear the tension underneath. I don't know what you think you're doing, but this letter is completely inappropriate. We're family. We don't handle disagreements with lawyers. Call me back immediately so we can discuss this like adults. Like adults? I almost laughed. Adults don't abandon their mothers on doorsteps. Friday, I met with Thomas Brennan, the financial advisor Susan had recommended. His office was smaller, cozier, with photos of his own family on the desk, a reminder of what healthy family relationships looked like. You've been supporting them for 5 years, Thomas said, reviewing my financial history. The good news is you still have enough to live on. The bad news is your retirement is severely compromised. Can I recover? I asked. Financially? If they repay even half of what you're owed, you'll be in decent shape. Emotionally? He gave me a kind smile. That's above my pay grade. Thomas created a new financial plan for me, one that assumed no further support to Daniel and Jennifer, and ideally, some repayment. He also helped me open a new checking account at a different bank and transfer my remaining funds there. Just in case, he said. People get desperate when money's involved. I hadn't considered that Daniel might try to access my account somehow, but Thomas was right to be cautious. I changed all my passwords, removed Daniel as my emergency contact at the bank, and secured everything. Saturday afternoon, a car pulled up outside my apartment building. Through my window, I watched Daniel get out, alone. He looked up at my windows, ran his hand through his hair, a nervous gesture he'd had since childhood, and walked to the entrance. My intercom buzzed. "Mom, it's me, please, we need to talk." I stared at the intercom, my hand hovering over the button. Part of me, the part that had raised him, that remembered him as a little boy bringing me dandelions, wanted to let him up. But I thought about that doorstep, about Jennifer's cold voice, about family only. "Put everything in writing," I said into the intercom. "Have your wife review it, since she seems to make your decisions now. Give me a formal repayment plan through my attorney, then we'll talk." "Mom, please." I released the button, cutting him off. Through the window, I watched him stand there for 10 minutes, looking lost. Finally, he got back in his car and drove away. That night, I found something while organizing my documents. An old email from Jennifer, sent 2 years ago, where she'd written, "Margaret, your generosity is so appreciated. We couldn't manage without your support. You're the best mother-in-law anyone could ask for." I printed it out and added it to my evidence folder. Actions, after all, spoke louder than words. The following Tuesday, Patricia called with news. They responded. Or rather, their attorney responded. They hired a lawyer? My coffee went cold in my hand. Jennifer did. Very quickly, I might add. Patricia's tone was dry. Corporate lawyer herself, so she has connections. They're claiming everything was a gift, freely given, with no expectation of repayment. That's not true. I know. Which is why I asked them to provide that in writing, signed by their attorney. Because if they formally claim that position, and we can prove otherwise, it becomes fraud. Patricia paused. They haven't responded to that request yet. What does that mean? It means they're scared. They're trying to figure out which lie will cost them less. I spent the next week organizing everything else. I went to my bank and got a complete history of every transaction to Daniel's accounts. I collected old text messages where he'd asked for money, promising to pay me back soon. I even found a voicemail from 3 years ago where he'd said, "Thanks for the loan, Mom. I'll get it back to you next month." He never had, of course. Every piece of evidence went into my file. Patricia was building a case, whether I sued or not, because the documentation itself was leverage. Thursday evening, they came to my apartment together. I saw them through my window, Daniel and Jennifer, walking up with determined faces. This time, when the buzzer rang, it wasn't a request. It was Jennifer's voice, sharp and demanding. "Margaret, we're coming up. We need to settle this now." "No," I said calmly. "Make an appointment through my attorney." "We're not leaving until you talk to us." Jennifer's voice rose. "This is ridiculous. You're being manipulated by that lawyer. We're family." I almost said it. I'm not invited, remember? Family only, but I didn't. Instead, I simply turned off the intercom. For 40 minutes, they buzzed. They called my phone. Through the window, I watched neighbors glance at them with concern. Finally, Mrs. Rodriguez from 3B came out and apparently said something because Daniel's face flushed red, and they left. That night, the emails started. From Jennifer's personal account, Long messages detailing everything they'd done for me, visiting me rarely, including me in holidays until recently, tolerating my intrusions into their life. Each email was more accusatory than the last, painting me as an ungrateful, manipulative mother who was now trying to extort them. I forwarded every single one to Patricia. "Save these," she told me. "They're documenting their own hostility. If this goes to court, this is evidence of their true feelings toward you." Friday afternoon, a registered letter arrived at my door. Not from their lawyer, from Jennifer directly. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a typed note. "This settles any perceived debts. Cash this check and drop the legal action, or we'll have no choice but to pursue harassment charges against you." I stared at that check. $5,000. Less than 3% of what they owed me. And a threat on top of it. I called Patricia immediately. "Don't cash it," she said. "That's an admission that they owe you something, but accepting it could be construed as accepting a settlement. And the harassment threat is laughable. You've done nothing but exercise your legal rights. What do I do?" "Return it with a letter stating you reject this offer and maintain your full claim. I'll draft it." Sunday, exactly 2 weeks after being turned away from their dinner, I went to Mass at St. Catherine's, something I'd been doing more frequently since this started. Father Miguel, who'd known me for years, noticed my distress. "You seem troubled, Margaret," I told him a simplified version. His expression grew grave. "Honoring your father and mother isn't optional, my child. It's a commandment. What your son has done." He shook his head. "Prayer helps, but so does standing up for yourself. God doesn't ask us to be doormats." After church, I stopped by Susan's house. She made tea and we sat in her garden, where spring flowers were beginning to bloom. "You look exhausted," she observed. "I am," I admitted. "This is harder than I thought. Part of me keeps wondering if I'm overreacting." "Are you?" Susan fixed me with that sharp nurse's gaze we'd both perfected over decades. "They took $250,000 from you. They cast you aside when you'd served your purpose. They're now threatening you for asking for accountability. Which part is an overreaction?" She was right, of course. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are different things. I was fighting my own son. The boy I'd carried, raised, sacrificed for. The grief of it was suffocating. "Take a few days," Susan suggested gently. "Stop checking your email. Stop answering calls. Let Patricia handle the legal side. You need to rest, or you'll break." I took her advice. For the next 4 days, I turned off my phone except for 1 hour each evening. I read books I'd been meaning to get to. I took long walks in the park. I cooked myself proper meals instead of picking at leftovers. I let myself grieve, not just for this situation, but for the son I thought I'd raised, who apparently had never existed. By Thursday, I felt stronger, clearer, ready for whatever came next. Because something was coming. I could feel it. Friday morning, I turned my phone back onto 17 missed calls and a dozen text messages. But these weren't angry. These were different. "Mom, please, I miss you. Can we just talk? Just the two of us? I made a mistake, I'm sorry. Please call me." All from Daniel. Nothing from Jennifer. The last message was from an unknown number. "Margaret, this is Daniel's father-in-law, Robert Chen. I'd like to speak with you about this situation. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Jennifer's father." Now they were bringing in reinforcements. I called Patricia first. "They're trying a different approach," I told her. "Classic manipulation tactic. Threats didn't work, so now they'll try appealing to your emotions. Don't engage unless I'm present." But curiosity got the better of me. I called Robert Chen from Patricia's office, with her on speakerphone. "Mrs. Morrison," he said smoothly. "Thank you for calling back. I understand there's been some family tension. That's one way to describe it. I want you to know that Jennifer and Daniel both feel terrible about how things unfolded. These young people, they get stressed. They say things they don't mean. His voice was warm, paternal. I'm sure we can resolve this without lawyers and hurt feelings. Mr. Chen, are you aware that your daughter and my son owe me $237,000? A pause. Jennifer mentioned you'd been very generous over the years, generous gifts to help them build their life. Loans, I corrected, which they've refused to repay. Well, that's a matter of interpretation, isn't it? In families, we help each other. I've helped Jennifer and Daniel too. I don't keep a ledger. His tone cooled slightly. Frankly, Mrs. Morrison, this legal action is embarrassing for everyone involved. What would people think? There it was. The real concern. Appearances? Jennifer's professional reputation. Their standing in the community. Mr. Chen, Patricia interjected smoothly, this is Patricia Chen, no relation. Mrs. Morrison's attorney. If your daughter and son-in-law would like to settle this matter, they can present a reasonable repayment proposal through proper channels. This is exactly the problem, Robert Chen said, voice hardening. Lawyers turning family matters into business transactions. Margaret, if you continue down this path, you'll lose your son forever. Is that really worth it? For money? The words were designed to hurt, and they did. But I'd had time to think, time to grieve, time to get angry. I already lost my son, I said quietly. The day he told me I wasn't family. The money is just proof of how long I'd already lost him. You're making a mistake. This call is over, Patricia said and disconnected. I sat there, hands shaking, but not from fear, from rage. They were trying to make me feel guilty for expecting basic decency, basic respect, basic repayment of what I was owed. That afternoon, an envelope arrived by courier. Inside was a handwritten letter from Daniel, his handwriting, not Jennifer's precise script. Mom, I know I hurt you. I know I messed up. Jennifer and I have been talking, and we want to make this right. We can't pay you back all at once, but what if we gave you $1,000 a month? We could start immediately. We could have dinner together again, be a family again. I miss you so much. Please, can we just go back to how things were? Love, Daniel. $1,000 a month. At that rate, it would take 19 years to repay me. I'd be 86 years old. And they wanted to go back to how things were, with me giving, and them taking. I took the letter to my weekly coffee date with Susan. She read it and snorted. 19 years. They're betting you'll die first. Susan, I'm serious. Look at the math. They're offering you nothing and hoping you'll be grateful for crumbs. She handed the letter back. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But I did know. I wasn't going to accept crumbs. Sunday, Father Miguel invited me to join a support group at the church, adults dealing with difficult family situations. I was hesitant at first, but I went. There were 8 of us. Tom, whose son had stolen his identity and ruined his credit. Maria, whose daughter had taken out loans in her name. Robert, whose kids had put him in a nursing home and sold his house. Each story was worse than the last, and yet everyone was surviving, fighting back, reclaiming their lives. The hardest part, Maria said, is accepting that the person you loved isn't who you thought they were. My daughter isn't the little girl I raised. That person is gone. I had to grieve her like a death. Her words resonated. I'd been grieving Daniel, not the adult he'd become, but the child he'd been, the son I'd imagined he was. What helped you move forward? I asked, accepting that I deserved better, that my worth wasn't tied to her love or approval. Maria smiled sadly, and finding people who actually cared about me, not what I could give them. After the meeting, 3 members exchanged numbers with me. Tom invited me to a Friday game night his group held. Robert offered to introduce me to his book club. These strangers were offering me more warmth and community than my own son had in months. That week, I started saying yes. Yes to game night. Yes to book club. Yes to volunteering at the hospital's retired nurses program. Yes to pottery classes at the community center that Susan had been nagging me to try. My calendar filled up. My apartment, which had felt like a prison of loneliness, became a place I actually left with purpose each day. Daniel called twice more, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. Jennifer's father sent another letter, this one more threatening, mentioning defamation, harassment, elder abuse allegations against me if I continued poisoning people against their family. I forwarded it all to Patricia and kept living my life. "They're losing control of the narrative," Patricia observed during our weekly check-in. "They're panicking because you're not responding the way they expected." What did they expect? For you to cave? To accept their pittance and be grateful? To prioritize being a good mother over being respected? Patricia leaned forward. "You're doing something they never anticipated. You're choosing yourself." It felt strange. Choosing myself. I'd spent 32 years putting Daniel first. But it also felt right. For the first time in years, I was sleeping through the night. 3 weeks after the rejected letter, Daniel called from an unknown number, a tactic to get me to answer. I did, curious about their next move. "Mom," his voice cracked. "Please, can I come over? Just me. No Jennifer, no lawyers. I need to see you." Against Patricia's advice, I agreed. 1 hour, tomorrow at 2. He arrived exactly on time, holding flowers, daisies, my favorites. He looked terrible, thinner, with dark circles under his eyes, wearing a wrinkled shirt. Part of me wanted to mother him, fix him soup, ask what was wrong. I didn't invite him to sit. "You look good, Mom," he said, glancing around my apartment. "Different. I've been taking care of myself." I set the flowers aside, not putting them in water. "You have an hour." "Right. Okay." Daniel ran his hand through his hair, that nervous gesture again. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what happened at the dinner. She was stressed about her parents being there, and I should have defended you. I should have told her no, but you didn't." "I know, and I hate myself for it." He stepped closer. "But we can fix this. I talked to Jennifer, and we both agree. We want you back in our lives. We miss you. I miss you. Do you?" I kept my voice level. "Or do you miss my bank account?" His face flushed. "That's not fair. Isn't it? You didn't miss me enough to call for months before that dinner. You didn't miss me enough to defend me when your wife called me an intrusion. You didn't miss me when you were cashing my checks. We'll pay you back. The $1,000 a month will increase it. Maybe $1,500. Stop." I held up my hand. "You owe me $237,000, Daniel. $1,500 a month is insulting. We don't have that kind of money." His voice rose, frustration breaking through. "Do you know what our mortgage is? What Jennifer's student loans are? We can't just pull that kind of cash out of nowhere. Then you shouldn't have spent mine." We stared at each other. This was my son, but I barely recognized him. When had he become this person who believed his problems justified using me? "Mom." He softened his voice, trying a different approach. "What do you want from me? You want me to say I was a bad son? Fine, I was. I took advantage. I let Jennifer influence me too much. But I'm trying to make it right now." "Are you?" "Because I haven't seen a real repayment plan. I haven't seen acknowledgement of what you've done. I've seen excuses and lowball offers, and your father-in-law threatening me." "He threatened you?" Daniel looked genuinely surprised. "I didn't know about that." "Didn't you?" Or did you just let Jennifer handle it, like you let her handle everything else? The accusation hit home. Daniel's jaw tightened. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Jennifer's firm is watching her, evaluating her for partner. Her parents have expectations. There's the house, the cars, maintaining appearances. And I had a son to raise alone on a nurse's salary, I interrupted. I understand pressure, Daniel. I lived it for 17 years after your father died. I didn't use it as an excuse to betray people who loved me. His expression changed then. The pleading mask slipped, and I saw something uglier underneath. Resentment. Is that what this is about? He asked coldly. You're still bitter about raising me alone? You want me to feel guilty for being a burden? You were never a burden, but using me certainly is. The doorbell rang. We both froze. Through the peephole, I saw Jennifer, standing with her arms crossed, checking her watch. You brought her, I said flatly. She wanted to come. She wants to apologize too. I don't believe you. But I opened the door anyway. Jennifer walked in like she owned the place, her eyes immediately scanning my apartment with that critical lawyer's gaze. Margaret, you're looking well. What do you want, Jennifer? To end this ridiculous situation. She sat down uninvited, crossing her legs. Daniels told you we're willing to pay you back. Reasonable monthly installments. In exchange, you drop the legal action and we move forward as a family. No. No? Jennifer's eyebrows rose. You'd rather drag this through courts? Spend money on lawyers? Air our private business publicly? If that's what it takes. That's selfish. Jennifer's voice turned sharp. You're thinking only of yourself, not about how this affects Daniel, how it affects us. Did you know his mother's legal action could impact my partnership evaluation? That this kind of family drama reflects poorly on both of us professionally? There it was, the real concern, Jennifer's career. Your professional reputation isn't my problem, I said. Everything is about you, isn't it? Jennifer stood up, her composure cracking. Saint Margaret, the martyr mother. You gave, and now you want your pound of flesh. Well, let me tell you something. You gave that money freely, happily. You loved feeling needed, feeling important. And now that we've built our own life, now that we don't need you anymore, you can't handle it. Jennifer, Daniel started, but she cut him off. No, she needs to hear this. You're a lonely old woman clinging to whatever control you have left. This lawsuit, it's not about money. It's about punishing us for having boundaries, for not letting you insert yourself into every aspect of our lives. The cruelty in her voice was stunning. But I'd faced down head nurses, hospital administrators, insurance companies. Jennifer's corporate lawyer intimidation tactics didn't scare me. Get out, I said quietly. We came here to make peace. You came here to manipulate me, to make me feel guilty for expecting basic human decency, to frame theft as generosity and abandonment as boundaries. I walked to the door and opened it. Get out of my home. You'll regret this, Jennifer hissed. We'll fight you on every penny. We'll drag this out until your legal fees bankrupt you, and everyone will know that you're the one who destroyed this family over money. Everyone will know I'm the one who refused to be a doormat. I looked at Daniel, who stood there silent and useless. Last chance, Daniel. Tell your wife she's wrong. Defend your mother. Show me the son I raised is still in there somewhere. He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Jennifer's rigid, furious face, and said nothing. That's what I thought. Goodbye. They left, Jennifer's heels clicking angrily down the hallway, Daniel following like a scolded puppy. Through the window, I watched them get into their car, the car I'd helped buy. Jennifer was gesticulating, clearly berating Daniel. He sat there and took it. My hands were shaking, my heart pounded, But underneath the fear and hurt was something else. Pride. I hadn't caved. I hadn't let them guilt me or threaten me into submission. I called Patricia immediately. They're going to fight, I told her. Jennifer made that clear. Good, Patricia said. Let them. We have documentation they can't refute. And Margaret? That threat about dragging it out? It's a bluff. Jennifer's a corporate lawyer, not a litigator. And the longer this goes, the more their own behavior gets exposed. That night I couldn't sleep. Not from regret, but from adrenaline. I'd stood up to them. I'd held my ground. And I knew with absolute certainty that there was no going back now. This was war, and I intended to win. Patricia filed the lawsuit on a Tuesday morning. The official complaint outlined every dollar, every manipulation, every broken promise. By noon, it was public record. By Wednesday, my phone was ringing off the hook, but not from Daniel or Jennifer. From people I hadn't spoken to in years, neighbors from our old community, former colleagues of Robert's, parents from Daniel's school days. Everyone had seen the court filing or heard about it, and everyone had a story. I always thought something was off about that girl, said Margaret Wu, who'd lived next door when Daniel was in high school. Too polished, too calculating. He changed after he married her, added Tom Reeves, Robert's old poker buddy. Stopped coming around, always had excuses. Even Daniel's godfather, Uncle Frank, not really an uncle, but Robert's best friend, called. Maggie, I tried to say something years ago, he said, voice heavy with regret. After Robert's funeral, when Jennifer started making comments about updating the family dynamics, I should have warned you. It's not your fault, Frank. Still, I'm here now, whatever you need, character witness, testimony, anything. I documented every conversation. Patricia was building something bigger than a financial case. She was documenting a pattern of isolation and exploitation. The mediation was scheduled for the following Monday. Court ordered, before the case could proceed to trial. Patricia warned me it would be difficult. They'll try to settle for pennies on the dollar, she said. Don't let them see you waver. We met in a sterile conference room at the courthouse. Neutral territory. A mediator, Judge Harrison, sat at the head of the table. Daniel and Jennifer arrived with their lawyer, Marcus Webb. Expensive suit, shark eyes, everything I expected. I wore my best dress, pearls Robert had given me for our 20th anniversary, and my nurse's poker face, the one I'd perfected during 30 years of death notifications and crisis management. Let's begin, Judge Harrison said. This is a mediation, not a trial. We're here to see if we can reach an agreement both parties can live with. Marcus Webb spoke first, his voice smooth. Your Honor, this is a simple case of family gift-giving being recharacterized as debt after a personal disagreement. Mrs. Morrison generously helped her son and daughter-in-law over the years. Generously loaned, Patricia interrupted. We have documentation of multiple instances where the funds were characterized as loans by the defendants themselves. Allegedly, Webb countered. Patricia slid a folder across the table. Text messages, voicemails, email correspondence, all referring to loans, paying back, and temporary help. Would you like me to read them aloud? I watched Jennifer's face carefully. She kept her lawyer mask on, but her jaw tightened. Webb opened the folder, scanned the contents. His expression didn't change, but he took a longer pause before responding. These are taken out of context. Would you like me to play the voicemail where your client explicitly says, and I quote, "Thanks for the loan, Mom. I'll get it back to you next month?" Patricia pressed. I have it queued up. Daniel's face went pale. Jennifer's hand gripped his arm, her knuckles white. Judge Harrison looked at Webb. Counselor, do you have evidence these were gifts? The nature of the family relationship. I'm asking for documentation, not supposition. Webb had nothing. We all knew it. Let's discuss settlement, Judge Harrison said. Mr. Webb, what is your client prepared to offer? $25,000 paid over 5 years. I laughed. actually laughed. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of offering me 10% of what they owed, paid over a timeline that assumed my death. That's insulting, I said, voice steady. They owe me $237,000. I have proof. They have no defense. And they're offering me table scraps. Mrs. Morrison, Webb began, you need to be realistic. Realistic? I leaned forward. Let me tell you what's realistic. You have no case. You have clients who are documented liars and financial abusers, and every day this drags on, more evidence surfaces. Just this week, I had 6 people reach out with stories about Jennifer isolating Daniel from family and friends. I have a paper trail showing systematic manipulation. So yes, let's be realistic. Your clients are going to lose, and they're going to lose badly. Jennifer's mask finally cracked. You're doing this to destroy us. I'm doing this to get back what you stole. We didn't steal anything, Jennifer's voice rose. You gave that money because you wanted to feel important, because without it, you're just a lonely old woman with nothing to offer. The room went silent. Even Webb looked uncomfortable. Jennifer, Daniel whispered, but she was beyond listening. You want to talk about manipulation? What about you? Jennifer was standing now, hands braced on the table. Showing up uninvited, calling constantly, inserting yourself into every decision we made. You didn't give us that money. You used it to buy control, to buy relevance in our lives. And when we finally set boundaries, when we finally tried to build our own family without you hovering over everything, you quote. Ms. Morrison, Judge Harrison interrupted sharply, I strongly suggest you let your attorney speak for you. But the damage was done. Jennifer had revealed exactly who she was, someone who viewed kindness as weakness, generosity as manipulation, and basic respect as optional. I looked at Daniel, really looked at him. He sat there, shoulders slumped, unable to meet my eyes. Daniel, I said quietly, look at me. He did, finally. His eyes were wet. Did you know she was going to say that? Did you know she thinks helping you was me buying control? Mom, answer the question. She's upset. That's not an answer. I waited. Do you believe what she just said? That I gave you money to manipulate you? The silence stretched. Daniel looked at Jennifer, at Webb, at the table, anywhere but at me. I don't know, he finally whispered. And there it was. After everything, 32 years of single parenthood, every sacrifice, every late shift, every missed opportunity so he could have better, he didn't know. Then we have nothing more to discuss, I said. I stood up. Patricia, let's go. Mrs. Morrison, the mediation isn't over, Judge Harrison started. Yes, it is. They've made their position clear. I looked at Jennifer, then at Daniel. See you in court? Patricia and I walked out. Behind us, I heard Webb's furious whisper, Jennifer's sharp retort, Daniel's weak protest. In the elevator, Patricia squeezed my shoulder. That was perfect. She just gave us everything we needed. What do you mean? The mediator witnessed her true character. If this goes to trial, that outburst will follow her. And Daniel's inability to defend you? That shows the power dynamic clearly. Patricia smiled grimly. They just lost any sympathy they might have had. Outside the courthouse, spring sunshine felt like a blessing. I breathed deeply, feeling lighter than I had in months. What happens now? I asked. Now, we prepare for trial, and we make sure everyone knows exactly who they're dealing with. I thought about Daniel's face. His whispered, I don't know. The sun I'd raised was truly gone. In his place was a stranger, a puppet whose strings Jennifer pulled with expert precision. It hurt, God, it hurt. But I was done grieving. Now I was going to win. The trial lasted 3 days. Patricia had warned me it would be grueling, but I hadn't anticipated the emotional toll of having my entire relationship with my son dissected in a courtroom. Day 1 was documentation. Patricia methodically presented every bank transfer, every check, every email and text message. The evidence was overwhelming. I watched the jury's faces as the numbers added up. $237,000. Several jurors' eyes widened. One woman shook her head in disbelief. Webb tried to argue context, family dynamics, the spirit of giving, but Judge Martinez wasn't having it. Counselor, do you have any documentation showing these were gifts? The relationship itself? Documentation, Mr. Webb, not narrative. He had nothing. Day 2, Patricia called witnesses. Uncle Frank testified about how Jennifer had gradually isolated Daniel from his father's friends and family. Susan described my emotional state after being turned away from the Sunday dinner and how I'd discovered the full extent of the financial exploitation. Tom from my support group explained patterns of elder financial abuse, the guilt tripping, the isolation, the sudden withdrawal of affection when demands weren't met. Then Patricia called me to the stand. Mrs. Morrison, why did you give your son this money? Because he asked. Because he was my son. Because I wanted to help him build a good life. My voice was steady. I trusted him to honor his word when he said he'd pay me back. Did you ever refuse his requests for money? No, I couldn't. I stopped, corrected myself. He is my only child. When did you realize something was wrong? I told them about the Sunday dinner, about standing on that doorstep in November cold, holding a homemade pie, being told I wasn't family. Several jurors looked at Daniel, who sat next to Jennifer with his head down. How did that make you feel? Like I'd lost my son. Like 32 years of love meant nothing. Webb cross-examined me aggressively. Isn't it true you used money to control your son's life? No. You paid for everything. Housing, cars, education. Doesn't that create dependence? I created opportunity. He created dependence by never standing on his own feet. You're bitter he married someone you didn't approve of. I'm devastated he became someone who could throw away his mother like garbage. Webb tried to shake me, but I'd faced down worse than him. Years of demanding doctors, hostile insurance adjusters, grieving families. A corporate lawyer was nothing. Day 3. Webb put Jennifer on the stand. It was a mistake. Patricia's cross-examination was surgical. Ms. Morrison, you're a corporate lawyer, correct? Yes. So you understand contracts, legal obligations, documentation? Of course. Then why didn't you document these alleged gifts in writing? Get a signed statement from Mrs. Morrison that these funds were gifts with no expectation of repayment. Jennifer hesitated. It was family. We trusted each other. Did you? Because you've alleged in your defense that Mrs. Morrison used this money to manipulate and control. If you truly believed that, why did you keep accepting it? We needed help. For 5 years? $237,000 worth of help? Patricia pulled out a document. According to your own financial disclosures, you and Daniel have a combined income of $285,000 per year. Why did you need a retired nurse's money? We had expenses. A $4,800 vacation to Turks and Caicos, a $12,000 hot tub installation, $8,000 in designer furniture. Patricia listed each one. Were these necessities? Jennifer's face flushed. We deserved to enjoy our lives. On someone else's retirement savings? She gave it willingly. Did she? Let's listen to this voicemail from your husband. Patricia played the recording. Thanks for the loan, Mom. I'll get it back to you next month. The courtroom was silent. That's your husband explicitly calling it a loan. Were you present when he made this promise? I don't remember. You don't remember your husband borrowing $15,000? Webb objected, but the damage was done. Jennifer was exposed, calculating, entitled, dishonest. Then Patricia asked the question that ended it all. Ms. Morrison, in mediation, you stated that Mrs. Morrison gave money to buy control. Do you still believe that? Jennifer looked at Webb, at Daniel, back at Patricia. Yes. So in your view, a mother helping her son is manipulation? When it comes with strings, what strings? What did she ask for in return? Involvement, constant contact, inserting herself. Weekly dinners, phone calls, wanting to be part of her only son's life? Patricia's voice was cold. Is that manipulation? Or is that called being a family? Jennifer had no answer. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. When they returned, the forewoman, a woman about my age, read the verdict clearly. In the matter of Morrison versus Morrison, we find in favor of the plaintiff, Margaret Morrison. The defendants are ordered to repay $237,000 plus interest, totaling $256,420. Additionally, we award the plaintiff $50,000 in emotional distress damages and $35,000 in legal fees, $341,000. I watched Daniel's face crumble. Jennifer sat rigid, in shock. Webb was already whispering to them about appeals, but Judge Martinez wasn't finished. I'm also ordering immediate wage garnishment, the judge said. 25% of both defendants' incomes until this debt is satisfied. Additionally, a lien will be placed on all property currently owned by the defendants. Your Honor, Webb protested, that's excessive. What's excessive, counselor? Is stealing from your mother and then trying to justify it in my courtroom. Judge Martinez looked at Daniel and Jennifer with open contempt. You will pay every penny. And if you attempt to hide assets, transfer property, or otherwise evade this judgment, I will hold you in contempt. Am I clear? Yes, Your Honor, Webb said weakly. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. Word had spread about the case. I gave a brief statement, carefully worded by Patricia. This case was never about money. It was about dignity, respect, and holding people accountable for their actions. I hope this sends a message that elderly parents are not ATM machines for their children's lifestyle choices. That night, the story went viral. Grandmother wins $341,000 from son who banned her from family dinner. The headlines were everywhere. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Media requests, interview offers, messages of support from strangers around the world. But the sweetest message came from Uncle Frank. Robert would be proud of you, Maggie. You didn't just win a case. You won your dignity back. He was right. This wasn't about the money, though I wouldn't pretend it didn't matter. This was about refusing to be disposable. About teaching my son, even if he never learned, that actions have consequences. I slept that night better than I had in years. Looking back, I learned that generosity without boundaries isn't love, it's self-harm. You teach people how to treat you. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Family is defined by behavior, not blood. Today, I'm 70 with financial security, purpose, and joy. Do I wish things ended differently? Of course. But not at the price of my soul. So I ask you, what would you do? Would you fight back or accept crumbs? If my story resonates, please share it. Comment your thoughts. Subscribe for more. Remember, you're never too old to stand up for yourself. Thank you for listening.